Hello, everybody. Hi, Elaine. Thank you for making it. Okay, so hopefully I'll be able to finish everything. I didn't sleep a lot last night because we had storms, not super severe, but they were noisy. So, okay, I'm going to show you how to make some real quick and easy faux silver and Royston turquoise um, pendant. Just a second, I'm looking for something. If you weren't aware, if you go to my channel, and let me switch so you can see what I'm talking about. So if you go to my channel and you go to playlists, you will find among all these playlists, there will be one that is all about four turquoises. And you can find all types of, not all, some various types of turquoises, not just the regular, run-of-the-mill turquoise tutorials that you have that imitate the various types of turquoises, including how to make matrix texture sheets and all kinds of other stuff. And let me actually give you a link to it. And there we go. Here's the link to that specific playlist. So let's go ahead and start. What I'm going to do first, because we will wait for this to, I didn't want to bake it ahead of time because I wanted you to see how it is done. I am using this is plain black clay. And if you aren't aware of this is what I use for texturing. Well, not with extra clay on it. For texturing the back of my costume jewelry, for jewelry, silver especially. Because especially when you're trying to imitate costume jewelry and Native American jewelry, the problem is that those things, and even modern jewelry, does not have texture on the back, right? And but using these, or you can make yourself a little texture of your own, just using, and you can use also the ball stylus. How the heck did this red get into? But I find, with the ball stylus, it's quite efficient. Trish from Polyclay Play has these beads. They are called raspberry beads. And I found that they imitate the best, because most of the older jewelry was either poured on sand and then filed a little bit on the back to remove any kind of asperities, or was, hammered. And I found that these beads imitate the best the hammering part. Excuse me. And I'm using these regular easy Primo cutters. This will be for the pendant itself, and this will be for the turquoise part. And just to get ahead and get the back of the pendant to bake before I start on anything else. And while I'm doing everything else, the back of the pendant will be baking. So you just put your black here, and you'll see why I'm using black, because I want to imitate the old silver, right? So, just going to go with my bead all over the place. Just to show the type of hammering, because the jewelers have these tiny hammers and had most of them. I mean, not a lot of present day jewelers use them anymore, but this is how it looks like. As you can see, it looks actually, I should do a little bit more of it because I still have some areas that are not fully covered in tiny hammer strokes. And there we go. So it should look something like this. Okay, so I'm going to cut. And yeah, I was asked by somebody, why aren't you keeping your oven in your craft room? Well, because I don't know, but I'm not comfortable with the idea of bringing something super hot that's going to be super hot for a long time in a regular room in the house. I don't know. To me, it belongs in the kitchen. Okay, so this you'll have to give me a few minutes so I can go put it in the oven. All right. Now, let's look a little bit at some Royston turquoises. And I have explained before in previous tutorials that the Royston turquoise is a little bit different than the regular turquoise. There we go. Number one, as you notice, it's greener. Okay, that's one of the things. The other thing is that it's got some traces of gradient that we can easily replicate with the Skinner blend, obviously. But also it has a lot more matrix. Can we find, and the matrix is more often than not black. We can find some Royston turquoise that has black matrix, but most of the time it is not black. It is mostly copperish. It will have some goldish. It can be even brown or beige. It's not always metallic. It may have some metallic in it, but first of all, what you must never forget is that the turquoise gets its color from copper. And remember, whenever you have some copper stuff, when it oxidizes, the oxidizing is bluish. And this is how the turquoise gets its color. So in deposits that have a higher instance of copper, the matrix will be pretty much not black. Again, there are some Royston turquoises that are black, as you can see, but it depends on the mine. As you can see, like there was one here. This one, it's from the Blue Horizon mine. And in all the, not in all, in most of the tutorials I made about turquoises before, I explained the differences and why. And another thing that you may notice in the turquoises that have mostly a black or a gray or a silverish matrix, those are quite blue turquoises. The turquoises that have more copperish and so on, um, those have the tinge of green. Also, in some deposits, there's both turquoise and varisite. Varisite is another beautiful mineral, not as prized as turquoise, but it also depends on the stone. And a lot of times, not even the best specialists. There are some specimens that it's very, very hard to say which is the varisite and which is the turquoise. Let me get here. See, the thing with the varisite is that it might have a slight transparency, and varisite is never blue. It's always green. But some turquoises can be green, as you can see in comparing some of these. I mean, this one, there are some that are blue, mostly in the as you can see, what I was telling you about the matrix being black or silverish or grayish, the varisite with the silver matrix will be bluish. It's exactly like the turquoise, but, and you can see here that there is a certain degree of transparency. It's almost malachite green, this one, but the varisite appears where there's gold most of the time. So let's get ahead and let's go ahead and do our mix. So what I have here obviously is some turquoise clay, and I am going to do something with it. And what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to make, actually I don't need all of this. You know how I'm always economizing. So I'm going to make some of it green, and not totally green, but greenish. And then do a little bit of Skinner blend to show you how you can do all this stuff. Okay, so what I have here, but you can use regular green too. I have here some jungle green. And remember, if you, because they don't make the jungle green, there's always, if you go to the link in my channel, you can find the recipe for it. So I'm going to put in one of these. Let's get these two. In one of them, I'm going to put 2/3 of the jungle green. And in the other one, just 1/3 of the jungle green. And the other thing that I need to do is add some white. And you don't have to really measure, you know, you can go a little bit eyeballing. And I'm going to add, cut this in 3, actually. And I'm going to add one here, and one of these I am going to actually add, going to cut this blue in 2 and add the white to one of the blues. So yeah, we're gonna have to be mixing now. And real quick, I know that I generally hate to do this during a live, and as you know, most of the time I would do the color mixes ahead of time, unless it's like here where I have to show you how to do stuff. if you want to get things faster, you can mix the white and the blue ahead of time, so you won't have any real practical white peeking through. But this should be pretty good. Let's see if it's got enough green in it. Because it's never a super duper recipe. Whenever I do stuff, I measure, and it's like with my cooking. I don't know if I told you, but I'm considered to be a relatively very good cook. I learned a lot from my grandpa, and the thing is that, like I do in my art, excuse me, I also do in cooking. So whenever somebody asks me for a recipe, because I go eyeballing and tasting, I have to actually make that dish again so that I can count how much of this and how much of that I used. Okay, so we still have some green peeking. Okay, this should be good. It doesn't have to be perfectly mixed. Let's go with the second one. And why I said we don't have to, because I'm going to do a Skinner blend. I have no idea why I'm having frogs in my throat all of a sudden. But yeah, it's I'm not going to make it super green. And again, you don't have to go all the way into mixing it, because once again, we are going to do the Skinner blend. So I have it. I have one here, and then this one. Yeah, I know it's a lot of fun to bang metal. I think I still have somewhere around the house the little clamp. To bang stuff. And a itty bitty anvil type thing. Okay, so we got all this. I'm going to actually place, yeah, let me get a little bit more blue. Place this and make a Skinner blend. But if you notice, I'm going to put these like this together. And give me a second. There we go. And give me just a minute. Okay, let me fan fold it. And then I'm going to go with it. You can see all the differences in color. Even if usually these cameras are pretty bad when it comes to blue and to purple, you can still see the differences. And then I'm going to go on the thicker setting. Only twice, as you have noticed. Now I'm going to stack. And then I'm going to chop. And normally I would let it be for a little bit. And another thing you might want to do is break it with your fingers. For even better looking, more natural looking chunks. There we go. And then we're gonna chop them some more. And then comes the fun part. Okay, so I'm gonna put these aside. Let me grab something that I do not have here. Has it been 20 minutes? Hold on a second. Nope, 2 more minutes. Okay. So let's put our... Oh, come on, get out of here. Don't you love it when the cling wrap hates on you? Okay, so let's put this here. And before I do anything else, remember I told you how I do if you don't have what I have. Okay. If you don't have what I have, I always make metallic mixes out of scrap clay. So I'm going to look for anything that's goldish, copperish. I have some beige here. And that looks good. Red. And this is too light. But this can be used too. You know, this can be used too. Don't use white. I mean, not this white. Now this is a good color. As I said, if you don't have what I have, you can use the plain gold, copper, and bronze Primo. Those will work just fine. And that's pretty much what I have. And I'm going to supplement it with some gold. So, and these ones are not conditioned. I'm going to condition them very little. Actually, this is not metallic. I cannot use this one. It's not metallic. This is metallic. So this one you can get it with ancient gold, pearl, and a little bit of copper. And actually that one, even if it's not metallic, I'm going to use it because, as I said, out of the matrix, it's not always metallic. So let's use this as well. And as I said, this is not conditioned, and I want it not conditioned. Maybe not all of it. I'm not going to use all of it. I'm going to use only this much, and then only this much of the beigeish one, and then some of the gold, about. And you've seen most of the Royston turquoise has a pretty high matrix to stone. This is a little bit too much. Matrix to stone ratio. I mean, it's got a lot of matrix. That's what I was trying to say. So I think this should be good. And I think 2 minutes have passed. Give me a second. All right, we're gonna let this cool off here. And in the meantime, another thing that I'm going to do is, I have these. Actually, let me do first the chopping. So I'm gonna chop these. And part of it we want it chopped super, super fine. But way finer than the turquoise itself. We want it. And some of the turquoise, if you want even more realism, you can even chop some of the turquoise super fine, because it can happen. And as I said, I'm going to put part of it with the existing blue, and then the rest I'm going to super finely. Do not put Armor All on the blade. It's okay if it sticks a little bit. But again, the stuff for the matrix you have to let it get unconditioned, okay? Because otherwise it's going to stick too much and you don't want that. And you want this to be almost coarse salt when it comes to the size of the grains. Not table salt, that's too much. You can have some table salt size, but don't go overboard with it. Okay, now I'm going to first get it all here so I can toss it properly. And then put it back in the here we can start. You can already see it happening, don't you? And I'll show you another trick. You can actually use a little bit of tada chalk pastels. Even if in the beginning it might, oh, you're gonna put powder in there, they won't stick anymore. Yes, they will. You'll see in a second why. Okay, so let me choose a little bit of this, that's a beige, and a little bit of cinnamon, and a little bit of brown, okay? So, beige, it helps in the very beginning to, before you do anything else, to mix them better. Then some cinnamon. I do not recommend to use mica powder. No. Because you don't want that metallic. That much metallic. It's enough to have a little bit with the gold and the copper. And then some beigeish brownish in the fray, and then the brown, put it back. I wouldn't be so OCD about these if I hadn't spilled them before, and as you have seen, they are very tiny and it's a pain to put them together. Okay, so this is all our, and I'm gonna be able to make a ton of turquoise, 4 turquoises from this. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it the easy way, the fast way for this pendant, but you can do the rest of your stuff the regular way, you know, just do cabochons and then sand and buff them, because that's the best way of getting 4 turquoises. All right, now we're gonna put all of this back in the cling wrap. And there we go. This part. Believe me, if you don't clean, even marble would get stained. And for everybody who's new and is wondering what is my working surface is actually one of those big 24 by 12 pieces of marble tile, floor tiling. You can find that Home Depot or Lowe's, and it's much cheaper than any kind of working mat or stuff that you can use. Also, a confectioner's thing works too. If you remember, I had a time when I was making my tutorials on one of those frosting thingies. There we go. I got some new lollipop sticks. Alright, so the next thing is I'm going to mix gold liquid clay. Okay. Hold on, needs to be shaken and maybe stirred. I don't want it too gold, okay? And it's not too gold. Normally, honestly, the gold Sculpey liquid clay is not very gold. So if you ever use it and you need it gold, mix some more mica powder in it. And then I'm going to add a touch of black. Let's see if I need more. Yeah, it needs a little bit more. As you can see, I generally do not use just plain acrylic, because I find that the matrix lines that you obtain with plain acrylic are too thin, and usually that kind of lines you only find in fake turquoise, mostly of Chinese origin. Even if there is some beautiful Chinese turquoise with very fine lines, but most of the time it's howlite. And generally speaking, as I said before, whenever you see turquoise with very fine matrix lines, that is a 90% chance that it's dyed howlite. Okay, so you want this to be about like this. As you can see, a fairly dark beigeish. And I'm going to cut it ahead of time. Normally, I would let it rest for a few hours. I would not cut it very early. Let it rest a few hours so it can bind really good. Because remember, liquid clay, the same as bake and bond, will bind your clay. I might have to make a little bit more. Don't make too much, because if you make too much, it's going to start to seep into the solid clay. You just want enough to, and you can even add a little bit of bake and bond as well for a better cohesion. Go ahead, and I do this, as you can see, it's not very stainy, so I don't get my hands too messed up. Especially with acrylic, it's a very, very messy business. And just mix until you notice that most of your stuff is coated with, because it becomes shiny when it's coated with liquid clay. And you can see where you need to insist some more. And right now I think that I have them coated very nicely. So I'm going to gather it together in the middle. And just bring it into a pouch very nicely. Try to push all the air out. And first squeeze it round. It's okay to squeeze it round first. Do not squeeze too many times because you're gonna start mixing. But then once you're sure that you squeezed enough, start making it into a rectangular, more or less, shape. You can use your acrylic block if you want, but the closest you get it to a rectangle, the easiest it will be to cut in shapes. And the best way to do it, I mean, you can use cabochon molds, but I prefer to just make a slab and then cut using cling wrap and a cutter. Okay, so the size of my turquoise will be this, so this is good enough. Making sure that it is well. So don't squeeze from different directions, too many different directions. Try to do just 2, actually 4, because you're gonna have to do from above as well. And normally, okay, I have no idea what's going on. Normally, as I said, I would let it rest for a couple hours and then proceed to make the stones, the cabochons. But now, because we are in a hurry, so I have the backing, and I'm going to, give me just a second here. And honestly, you can use pretty much any texture. It will give you the silverish thing that you're looking for. Let me actually grab my binder with the makings ones. So we can consult on it. Yeah, it's an old wedding album that I got from Goodwill, and you break because there was a little thing here to separate 2 photos, and I just broke it, and I'm keeping all my makings textures here. This can go as a texture easily. I wouldn't use the gears. This would work kind of sort of here. find one, I promise you. The little weaving thing also works pretty good on, because from some reason it looks a little bit like fleur-de-lis. This works, but not so much on pendants. Whenever you want to do, this is the I'm trying to find something to show you against, and I don't find anything. It works really good when you try to do it. This is good for steampunk. Bricks don't work. Use your spears. The curly Q, the beard one, works also for the backing. It looks very much like hammer strokes as well. Oh, let's use this one. I don't want walk. Let's see anything else I got here. This is the scabby stuff, and I think that's it. Let's do this one, because the makings ones are the easiest to come by. Unless you want to try a Helen Braille or a Lisa Pavelka, we can do that too. Alrighty, so let me do because again I'm trying to make it as costume as possible, as old looking as possible. I wonder where that go. Okay, I'm gonna have to move slightly the camera, and I'm going to do this. Because I don't want to get it through the machine. Okay. I didn't do this to start with because I needed my my clay to be firmly embedded in the texture. Okay, so now I can do it. Alrighty, so wash this again, wash this again, I thought I had another piece of, but I didn't. Yeah, this would work. And bacon bond. And this bacon bond is so sticky. And you're like, what are you doing? You're covering the whole thing. Where does the turquoise go? Well, it goes very nicely inside. Okay, so pat this a little bit, and then I'm going to place it alrighty. Removing the excess. I got bacon bun all over the place. Yeah, I had at one point I didn't put back the lid on the bacon bun properly, and it started spilling all over. Alrighty. So first things first. Remember, if you roll on raw clay over baked clay, it's going to separate by itself, so it's going to not leave a lot of work to be done. And I know that I work much faster in the uploaded videos because I speed them up. Everybody does. In case you are wondering why our hands fly like little swallows, because we speed up the video. So we don't have to keep you there. Now be very careful with the X-Acto knife because you might be shaving out of the baked stuff and you don't want that to happen. I'll grab my eyes. So at this point we are going to do a nice edge. Of course you can refine the edge once it's baked just simply by sanding a little bit. You don't have to, because it depends on how authentic you want to get your stuff. Alrighty. And I am going to do ahead of time the waxing just to show you how it looks like. All right, now it's time to make a hole for our turquoise, quote unquote turquoise, Royston turquoise nonetheless. And here you try to do, and I might have to, I hope I don't do it sideways, because again I need to look from above, and this is not a lot of looking from above with a camera above. But I'm going to try. I'm gonna pull it towards me. So there we go. And maybe. Oh, don't go away. No, that's too big. I can do another round one, but let's just go with one for the purposes of this live. So this goes out. And you notice that it still has some bacon bond on the bottom. Yeah. Alrighty, now time for the pretties. All right. So now here I might want to get a little bit of armor all, because I want to be able to cut through. As I said, this is just for the purposes of this live. Do not cut this early after you have done your thing. Let it sit for a few hours at least. Okay. Because that's going to allow to properly bond. All right. Now I'm going to grab another piece of cling wrap. And it's entirely up to you how big you want to make the matrix. You can make, for example, I could have left the gold a little bit larger, or even made some Skinner blend with that brown and the beigeish. So making sure it's all together. And let's cut. And if you want, you can, before you do anything else, you can bake the turquoise ahead of time and just, you know, sand and buff it. And whatever is left after you cut your things, you can always re-chop them and put them together. Just add some more larger pieces, so it's not all tiny. Alrighty. Oh, it's not all stuck together. That's another thing. It's not going to look perfectly perfect. But this is what happens when you cut too soon. Nevertheless. Okay, let's clean it a little bit. Do not bake it like this. It's dirty. You want to clean it before baking it. So you use alcohol to clean it. So this one still has a little bit of distance sometimes between chunks, which shouldn't happen when you let it be and then you press it a little bit longer. But again, for the purposes of this video, this is what we have. This is what we are going to show. And then you just place it here. Now you can add some you can add whatchamacallit, some scroll work around it, you know, the rope, if you so desire. And I'm going to show it close up, and I cannot find my silver, so I'm going to use another color instead of silver, but you'll get the idea of how the silver looks like, hopefully. Let me go check again, just a second. I found the iron, which is a darker silver. So I'm still in the process of gathering all kinds of making several boxes to give away with scrap clay, and it's not as strong as silver, the brushed iron, but it will still show you how it looks like. So I was saying I want to give away a lot of scrap clay, old canes, various beads and things. So I'm still in the process of doing that. And again, this doesn't look as silverish as silver because it's supposed to be brushed iron, but it will still give you an idea. And I'm going to do the focus close up so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and look at this. All right. Oops. Don't drop. Okay, so you can see it. It's not shiny, obviously, because it's not lacquered. It's not. You can use varnish on it. And again, excuse the little spots where the chunks are not together because I didn't spend all the time to. But you can see there's the color differences. Let me do what I usually do so I can see better. More real daylight type. There's colors differences, and you can do even stronger greens. You can do all kinds of other stuff, but this will look much better once you silver it all over the place. Where is my focus? There we go. You have to consider it very oh no, trying to find the focus for this. And there we go. Again, leave it a few hours, a few good hours, that stuff to get together, and it will look as it should. It will be normal looking, so to speak. But yeah, that's the way to do Royston turquoise. You can do, as I said before, you can use a regular green clay instead of jungle green to make a brighter green. And if you look at those that playlist I told you about and I linked, you can find other color recipes for other types of turquoises. But me personally, of all turquoises, I like the Royston the most. The Royston and the Morency, the water web. But the Royston, I think, is the most spectacular. Hopefully I'll do one Varisite for Varisite sometime. But yeah, there we go. And I hope you have a good week. Remember that this week is going to be better, but next week, the week after this one, we're gonna have a heat dome. So it's going to be horrible. Okay? So I hope you all have a great week and you try making turquoises. Not as I said, go look in that playlist if you're newer and if you haven't seen it. There is a whole bunch of good ideas and good ideas on pieces to make too. And I shall see you all next Sunday. Okay. Thank you all so much. I love you and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Bye.